when the consumer isn't a human developer, but it's actually an autonomous AI entity.
That you're providing least privilege for the shortest amount of time.
When you look at how AI agents move today,
Built for protocols for a world of humans, but now that world doesn't exist anymore.
hello everyone, and welcome to the VigourSoft TechCast, our brand new podcast where we break down the future of identity, trust, security, AI, and engineering leadership. This is the very first series we're launching, and we're calling it the Identity and Trust series. Now, because 2026 is shaping up to be the year where digital identity meets autonomous AI in ways we've never seen before, every week we'll be bringing perspectives from people who've built these identity systems, scaled engineering organizations, and lived these problems in the real world, not just in theory, right? And today, this is episode 1. We're calling it the SAML author's perspective, identity built for humans, stress tested by AI. The perfect place to start the conversation, to kick off the series. We couldn't have asked for a more stellar guest. Our guest today needs no introduction inside the IM world. Bhavna Bhatnagar, CTO at VigourSoft and the key contributor to SAML, the protocol that became the authentication backbone for modern web systems. For the last quarter of a century, Bhavna has led global engineering teams across the US, Europe, and Asia. She's modernized identity platforms at scale, contributed to industry working groups like OpenID Foundation's Agentic Identity paper, and has been leading building identity and platforms of companies like Rivian, Procore, and more. So, absolutely, there's no better person to begin with. Bhavna, welcome to episode 1.
Thank you, Parag. It's an honor to kick this off. You've been very kind with your introduction, and this topic is really close to my heart. So thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. So let's dive deep right away. So I want to start with something foundational. I mean, you were part of the team that helped define SAML, the identity standard that became the ID card of the internet. Now, when you look at how AI agents move today, autonomous, they're fast, they're unpredictable. Are we still using an ID card really? Or do we need something completely different?
That's interesting. I love that metaphor because, yes, SAML was essentially an ID card, though, there was a lot of effort behind defining the SAML specs. It basically meant for human interaction, it proved who you were, and it was a trusted system of proof of identity, if you will. But that model assumed one thing. It's a human which is behind the action. And human beings are predictable. They have their own, kind of moral compass, and you know what they are doing as long as you can verify their identity. In today's world, we have we all know that we hear the word agents and AI everywhere. There's an exodus of non-human actors. There are workload. The cloud is full of anonymous workloads. You have AI agents, you have orchestrators, you have tools that chain into other tools, and the workflows are getting more and more complex. They don't wait, they don't pause, they are backed by LLMs, they don't follow predictable flows. So obviously, to put a guardrail around such agent behavior gets very challenging. So, using the human kind of identity, so to speak, saying, hey, here, this is a human being, and they say who they are based on this identity, doesn't work very well in the agentic space anymore. What we really need is, being able to figure out who is doing what. So, who, as in, it's a non-human identity. The what is becoming more and more non-deterministic. And are they even allowed to do that, right? I mean, are they following the intent for which they were designed? And that whole landscape is evolving over time. We obviously we built for protocols for a world of humans, but now that world doesn't exist anymore. So obviously we need to think, put on our thinking caps and start thinking of how do we solve this problem when humans are replaced, or okay, that's a strong word, or where humans are supplemented with non-humans during the workflows. So how do you do the traceability and the auditability in such a situation?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think these older protocols were built for human speed interactions. So, logging in, redirecting, validating, those kind of things. But AI agents move at machine speed. So, like, what are the biggest architectural cracks you're seeing in legacy IAM systems because of that gap?
So, like I kind of almost alluded, there are a few big ones for sure. IAM, a traditional IAM, assumed human initiated actions. So now that's all flipped up, right? We are talking of actions started by agents. Agents can spawn farms, of agents. Swarms can be
Mhm.
created. You can have delegation chain in agents. Agents can delegate work to a sub agent. So, for example, I start up a travel agent, and a travel agent can create a sub agent to say, go check the availability of a flight on Delta. Say, for example, a sub agent which is specifically created for Delta agents. Now, this dedicated delegated chain needs to have a trust associated with it and intent associated with it so that you don't have any rogue agent come in and do strange things in between. Now, traditional IAM starts with one user, ends with the same user. So once you have validated the identity of that user, you're good. I mean, other than man in the middle attack and stolen credentials, which we put a solve for, life was better with humans. Um, and the other thing is, because of the fact that uh, the solving the authorization space has become so complex, how do define the fine-grained authorization space for agents? People have found a solve by giving standing privileges to agents, like they have all the standing privileges, and they land up inheriting human level access. Say, for example, an admin's privilege will come down to the agent, and that's not a very safe space to be in. And again, we hear it all the time. Agents are non-deterministic. Policies can be written for deterministic behavior, but the intent tracking for a non-deterministic, possibly a rogue agent, how do you do that? How can you make sure that you're providing least privilege for the shortest amount of time so the agent doesn't do something which it is not intended to be doing? So the entire trust model, as you can see, starts breaking when the actor is not human, and we need to put on completely different way of thinking when we solve the non-human identity space.
Right, that's fascinating because what that means is that IAM didn't really fail. It's the context that changed.
Exactly. I mean, IAM can never fail. I mean, there is a need for IAM always. It is just that the ecosystem has changed. And so we need to redesign the IAM space for this new ecosystem. And you referred to, thank you for mentioning that, the part of the work which I'm doing as part of the OpenID AIIM forum is I contributed to a white paper where we really sat together with a bunch of industry colleagues, and we thought through all these use cases, and we talked about how things have changed and how should we use the existing um, uh, stacks to solve the problem. I mean, we don't need a new solve. We have a lot of standards now. We have things like OAuth, which can be repurposed. We have OAuth, we have transaction tokens. We have human in the loop flows like SIBA and cross app access, and what have you. Like there are a lot of solves in the market, but it's all
Mhm.
about making sure that we put the right practices in place, which is what I'm trying to do through this forum, so that people have a good solution for how do they solve the authorization challenge with non-human agents.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. So, you've built all these shared services at companies like Rivian, at Procore, and others. These are platforms that many teams consume. Okay. Now, how does that mindset really change when the consumer isn't a human developer, but it's actually an autonomous AI entity?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think the biggest challenge, like you already said, right, with humans, there is a there is a lot of deterministic behavior. So the guardrails can be put in terms of documentation, best practices, onboarding flows, and um, troubleshooting guides. Like you were trying to do something, but it failed, and the API definitions really are done, or the API creations are done with the intention of a human is using it, and human has this whole deterministic behavior pattern in using APIs and consuming APIs. But with AI, you cannot make those assumptions. They may call APIs directly. They they may not follow constraints, right? They may not maintain. They will, I mean, context wise, you have a lot of memory which AI agents have, so they can maintain context, but they may definitely exceed boundaries, because an AI agent is there to do your task under any circumstances. That's the premise, right? So an AI agent creates a plan, it tries to do things. It may, next time you ask it to do something and it ran into a let's say a blockade, it would replan it. And every plan cannot be thought through when you create your APIs in such a way. There is a non-determinism of the AI agent, leads to a lot of thinking in terms of how do you mature your API surface in such a way that a rogue agent cannot use it in a non-deterministic fashion. So when you are creating, the platforms and core infrastructure, software infrastructure, like services to do identity verification, or services to do authorization, there need to be a lot of validations built in. There needs to be a lot of intent checking built in. There needs to be a lot of um, risk awareness built in. So, to give you an example, if think of a solution where before an API is called, there is something sitting in between and saying, this call is coming from this agent with a risk score confidence of low, in which case either the API provider service, the MCP server, needs to reject that call and saying, okay, it's a low confidence, so I'm not going to allow this call. Or there needs to be a human in the loop intervention. So the flows have to be designed on the fly based on the intent and the capability of the agent, which did not happen in the past. So I think that brings a different flavor in the way we provide our services in the form of APIs, the keys, the validation checks, and the intent check. So, if I have to put it simply, the the resiliency to unexpected sequences needs to be built in. In human worlds, you kind of design APIs. In AI world, you would design behavioral boundaries.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that API design effectually has now almost become behavioral design.
Absolutely, 100%. You're not just giving a capability, you're actually controlling how that capability can be used. And that control has to bake in the non-determinism of the agent. So you can tell, right? The life is becoming more and more complex. The agents step in and they're taking away a lot of workload off you, but you let them loose, not with intent, but they will try to please you. They want to do things for you using different plans. So putting those guardrails in whichever way is really critical. Hence, I keep talking about authorization, and how really authorization needs to be baked in. That's a very, very hot topic, and a very difficult one to solve in present circumstances.
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. So, Bhavna, this was incredible. I mean, starting from the roots of SAML to what identity needs to look like in the age of autonomous AI. Now, this is exactly the kind of clarity we wanted episode one to set.
Absolutely. Thank you. This has been really amazing, Parag. Thank you for having me. As you can tell, the shift is really bigger. It's bigger than people think. Identity is entering a brand new phase, and we need to start thinking of identity in terms of fabric and I used to be a big proponent of zero trust, and I believe that zero trust is still the standing model. But
Mhm.
zero trust is no more around driving. boundaries in the network or driving boundaries around the apps or the data or anything on all your resources which need to be protected. It's really identity which is the perimeter now.
Absolutely. And that's where we are heading in episode two. Okay. So, guys, because if today we spoke about identity protocols built for humans, next time we're going to be talking about something that every engineering leader is worried about. The agentic identity crisis. Now, what happens when AI identifies, delegates, and even acts on its own? So, guys, make sure you follow VigourSoft on LinkedIn and join us for episode two of the Identity and Trust series. Bhavna, thank you again. And yes, she'll be back with us.
Thank you so much, Parag. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. This is VigourSoft signing off today. May the vigor be with you.